Welcome to a very special episode of the Spirit of Mayflower podcast. For this, I'm actually in Boston. I've travelled on the train from Nottingham to Boston and I'm walking my way towards the river. And as we approach the river, from miles around, you can see the tall spire of St Botolph's Church standing proud above the town. So I'm just heading towards the bridge to head over past the church into the marketplace. I'm just stopped to have a look at St Botolph's Church. It's absolutely huge, and I think it's known as the largest parish church in England, dedicated to St Botolph, who was an Anglo-Saxon Benedictine monk who in the 7th century is believed to have founded the original church. So walking past this impressive building, I'm now coming into the centre of Boston and its marketplace, where I'm hoping to find the team at Transported on their market stall. I've arrived at the stall with the Transported team, and the marketplace is bustling. It's very busy and lots of colourful stalls. And I've invited some of the participants of Pilgrim in Boston to come and meet me at the market stall to tell me about how they found working with the Lucet when they received their kits through the post. So I'm standing on Boston Marketplace and I've got one of the lovely ladies that took part in Pilgrim Woman Boston. So could you let us know what your name is?
It's Tracy Shaw.
Oh, hello Tracy.
Hello.
So you was one of our participants and received through the post one of the kits?
I did, yes.
So what was it like getting it through the post and opening it?
It's very exciting, I'll be honest, yeah.
So as you know, all of the Lucet pieces that were returned are going to be cast in bronze, and so they're all going to be part of a new sculpture. So how does it feel knowing that a piece of your weaving is going to be on a sculpture that's going to last for a lifetime?
I think it's quite amazing, and the fact that it's in the town that we live in now, well, live on the outskirts, but yeah, no, I think it'd be amazing to go and see it.
Thank you very much Tracy. The town of Boston in Lincolnshire has such a rich, varied history, and it also has a famous poet who was born in Boston in 1820. Her name was Jean Ingelow, and she was the eldest of 10 children. Her father, William, was one of Boston's bankers, and the family lived in South Square, overlooking the river, near to what is now Haven Bridge. She loved watching the river, the sunlight glinting on the water, the vessels loaded with grain, and listening to the songs of the men as they work. We're going to hear snippets of one of her most popular long poems, The High Tide on the Coast of Lincolnshire, peppered throughout this podcast episode. And they've been performed to a soundscape created by Poesy In Motion. So let's hear the first clip now.
The swannards where their sedges are, moved on in sunset's golden breath. The shepherd lads I heard afar, and my son's wife, Elizabeth. Till floating o'er the grassy sea came down that kindly message free, the brides of Mavis Enderby.
Two ladies have just come over to visit me at the market stall, and one of them is Rose, who I believe is our eldest participant to the Pilgrim Woman project. So let's have a chat with Rose. So could you tell us how old you are? Is that all right?
80.
And you had to go with the Lucet kit through the post. How did you find it?
I found it great fun, and it took me back to my childhood when we used to knit on bobbins, and we used to have 4 little nails and wind the wool round and slip it over as we did with the Lucet weaving and make long, don't remember what we did with the things, but we used to make long things. Doll scarves, I think they were.
Oh, that's fantastic. So with the Lucet kits, what does it feel like to know that something that you've made is going to become part of a bronze sculpture for the town of Boston?
Amazing, amazing. But all encouraged by my daughter. She's the one who always finds out everything and keeps me busy.
Well, that's fantastic, and thank you so much for taking part, Rose.
Pleasure.
That was wonderful talking with Rose, and the fact that at 80 she's still very active within her community and taking part in lots of art projects. So I'm going to leave the marketplace behind for a short while, and I'm going to take a walk through to the cultural area of Boston. Right, I'm just walking past the Guild Hall, and you may have remembered that we did an earlier episode where we talked about the Guild Hall and how they held a group of families which were collectively known as the Separatists, and they held them in jail in the autumn of 1607. Standing right next door to the Guild Hall is Fidle House, so I'm going to go inside and find Sue. So I'm here with Sue in Fidle House, and Sue was one of my weaving ladies for the Pilgrim Woman Boston. Thank you for chatting with me, Sue.
That's all right, always pleased to chat with you, Rachel, anytime.
So you received one of my kits through the post, so what got you interested?
Well, we try to get involved in as much of Transported's activities as we can, really, at Fidle House. And I'd seen Lucets and was quite interested in how we were going to manage to actually weave something with this bit of two-pronged stick, really, which is what it looked like. So my granddaughter, who's 12, and I thought we would help each other and have a go with it. So that's what we did.
Oh, that's great that you did it together as a little family unit. And how did you find sort of being guided remotely? Because it was quite strange for me as an artist not to be able to be with my project participants and to do it remotely through a pre-recorded video. So how was that for you?
We spent a lot of time winding it back and starting again, and one of us would get it, and the other one would say, no, I haven't quite got it, can we go back again? And then the other one would go, I think I've gone wrong, and they'd go back again as well. But eventually, with lots and lots of replays, it was really good, actually, because I think you might have got a bit fed up with us.
Well, that's quite interesting to hear, and I suppose that is the one useful bit of an online tutorial, is that you can press rewind and go, oh, let's do that a bit again. So you both sent me some lovely samples through the post, and they're now being cast in bronze at the foundry and are going to become part of Pilgrim Woman Boston. So how does it feel for yourself and your granddaughter knowing that something you've made is going to be in a sculpture and donated to the town?
I think we're both really, really excited about it. And because it's grandma and granddaughter, we've said things like, well, when you've got grandchildren, you'll be able to take your granddaughter to the sculpture and say, look, I did that with your great-grandma, which is a real heritage sort of feeling, isn't it? So we're very, very excited to see it. And we did make a few mistakes, so we're hoping we might be able to pick ours out.
Well, I can tell you that when I got all of the pieces through the post, I spent a very long weekend hand-stitching them all together to make one huge long piece. So it was absolutely amazing to get all of these different pieces, and they all were quite different, quite unique, and you could just see the different twists and turns in them. So hopefully when you see it in bronze, you'll be able to pick it out.
Yeah, I hope so. The other thing that Lily's done is she's made friendship bracelets with the Lucet as well for her friends and family as well. So it's kept going. She's kept the interest in it, which is lovely. And I've got lots of embroidery silks that were my mum's, so her great-grandma. So she's using those to make friendship bracelets with the Lucet. So it's continuing, which is a lovely tradition for her to have.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. That's lovely to hear. So thank you so much, Sue, for chatting with me. And just before we go, would you know, I mentioned that we're in Fidle House. If someone's not heard of Fidle House, could you just tell our listeners a little bit about it?
I can. Fidle House is a Queen Anne house in the cultural quarter of Boston, and we open Monday to Friday for people to have a look round. On Wednesdays we serve refreshments, we do free tours. It has the most beautiful garden, which is an absolute haven in the middle of Boston. Come and see us.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Sue. That was lovely hearing from Sue how grandmother and granddaughter work together. while I take a walk back into the marketplace to meet some more of the participants, let's have another verse of the high tide on the coast of Lincolnshire.
With that he cried and beat his breast, for lo, along the river's bed a mighty eagle reared his crest, and up the Lindis raging sped. It swept with thunderous noises loud, shaped like a curling snow-white cloud, or like a demon in a shroud.
Hi, I'm Julie. Thank you so much for letting me be part of the project, Rachel. It's been absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed using the Lucet. Just picking it up is so relaxing. And to think that the braids that we've made are actually going to be used to create something for Boston going forward. So not only are we part of the history, we are part of the future. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Julie, for coming to talk to me on Boston Marketplace. Boston was quite a busy, prosperous town in medieval times. It was extremely wealthy, and only London paid more in tax than Boston. And while much of this wealth was generated by the port, the town was also important for its markets and fairs. Regular markets enable people from the surrounding area to buy and sell goods and services, whilst its fairs, dating from about 1125, had international reputation. A royal charter of 1218 recorded the town's right to hold markets and fairs, with further charters being issued to confirm Boston's right and privileges as a trading centre.
So I've just met with Gillian, another one of our Pilgrim Woman participants who took part in the Lucet weaving. So thank you for coming to see me, Gillian.
You're welcome. I'd just like to know how you're getting on.
Oh. So how did you find sort of receiving a kit through the post and then me sitting on a video guiding you through it? Was it okay?
Yes, it was fine because I do a lot of craft work, so I was okay.
And had you used the Lucet before?
No, something similar.
Okay.
So it wasn't sort of alien to me.
So your piece of weaving that you sent back to me is going to be part of the sculpture, and how does that feel to know that something that you've made is going to be immortalised in bronze for the town that you live in?
Well, it's like a heritage thing, isn't it? It's, you know, you did this bit, you know, kids, grandkids will say, oh, my nan did bit that, and it's heritage.
It is,
Yeah, it's something to, you know, pass down through generations.
And also think about that we're unpicking the women's story, and it was great that we had so many women taking part in the project, you know. And do you think that women's history is represented much in the town?
Not really, no. It's all the men, fishermen and all that. But nobody stops and thinks about how hard the women really worked, you know, because they looked after the kids and they went working on the land, and, you know, they cleaned the fish when they brought them in and all this. They did quite a lot, you know. The men went out on the boats, yeah, but the women did most of the hard work. They still had the kids to look after and the home, and, you know, working out, you know, how to make ends meet, and, you know, they worked hard.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes. So it'd be great to represent some of women's history and a story of this town within the sculpture. And
yes.
Are you looking forward to seeing it unveiled?
Oh, yes, I am. Yes, definitely. Yes, I think it's going to be beautiful.
Oh.
I do. I really think, you know, by what you're saying, it's going to look really, really, you know, tip top. Especially with the rope going through, and, you know, it's going to look great. It is. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh.
Getting on in years now, you know.
Well, I want to thank you, Gillian, for coming to see me at the market stall.
Oh, I'll come again when you're here.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Gillian.
You're welcome.
Oh.
Thank you for asking.
Oh.
It was lovely chatting with Gillian. She was so energetic and enthusiastic about the town of her home and had such a lot of amazing ideas. So we're going to hear from another lady, and this lady is called Claire.
I'm Claire Crossdale, and a few weeks ago Rachel Carter, Spirit of Mayflower, sent me a Lucet kit because I was laid up on the sofa and not very well at all, and I think she thought it might help my recovery. So I had a go and loop, turn, pull. Took a bit of doing to get my head around it, but eventually I managed it, and I've been doing quite a few lengths, thinking like shoelaces. Dorothy May, who married William Bradford, her dad was a shoemaker, and they were from Wisbech, and then they went to Amsterdam, and perhaps when she was a child she made shoelaces for her dad's shoes, who knows. Anyway, I was thrilled that I was able to do a bit of lucet weaving that's going to go on the Boston Pilgrim woman sculpture, and it helps to make up for Boston trip in the US that I couldn't get to last year when everything got cancelled. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Claire. And I learned something new every time I stand and talk to different people. And I had no idea that Dorothy Bradford's father was a shoemaker. So what a fantastic link that we found with the lucet weaving and the Pilgrims. That's amazing. Thank you, Claire. So from Dorothy Bradford to Boston's own Jean Ingelow, a poet who lived from 1820 to 1897, and to another Lincolnshire poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson, who remarked about Miss Ingelow's poetry, "I do declare you do the trick better than I do," and they later became such good friends. She also became friends of other influential writers of the time, such as Browning's. Agatha Christie was a fan and devoted from her favourite Ingelow poem, The Dove on the Mast, in two of her own novels, The Moving Finger and Ordeal by Innocence. It is said that Ingelow was once considered for the post of Poet Laureate. So let's hear for the last time another piece from her popular poem, The High Tide on the Coast of Lincolnshire, performed by Poesy In Motion.
Upon the roof we sat that night. The noise of bells went sweeping by. I marked the lofty beacon light stream from the church tower red and high, a lurid mark and dread to see, and awesome bells they were to me, that in the dark rang Enderby.
I've really enjoyed this trip to Boston, and it's been great to meet some of the fantastic people who've taken part in my Pilgrim Woman Boston project. Lockdown has brought so many changes, I think, and before lockdown I was used to doing my projects in person with people. I'd never made video tutorials, let alone made kits that could go through the post. But I think we found a new way of engaging with people and adding an extra layer to projects. So it's been fantastic to have received this response from all the ladies who receive kits through the post and have come along to Boston Marketplace to visit me and tell me what they think about the project and the new sculpture that's going to be unveiled at the Collection Museum on the 15th of November. And then in spring 2022, she's going to make her way to the town of Boston. So I'm going to say goodbye to Boston, and I'm going to cross the river again by the side of St Botolph's and make my way to the train station and head back home. But before I do, I just want to say a special thank you to Richard Austin, whose fantastic book, Boston, the Small Town with a Big Story, has been such a wonderful guidebook. Thank you for listening. Spirit of Mayflower is part of a series celebrating my Spirit of Mayflower project. You can get involved in lots of ways. You can take a look at some of the movies and pictures I took on my journey by heading to the Rachel Carter Sculpture Facebook page. You can also head to my website at www.rachelcarter.com rachelcarter.co.uk, and there you'll be able to view some of the sculptures I make, treat yourself to a limited edition Pilgrim woman sculpture, or take a look at some of the online tutorials.
On the tide, with a cargo full of hopes and dreams and 100 souls inside, we're crossing the great ocean, we're riding on the tide, with a cargo full of hopes and dreams.